Watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. US President Joe Biden vows to fight on, aims to return to campaigning next week, even as pressure mounts on him to step aside from the presidential race. US Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump says he had a very good call with Ukrainian President Zelensky, pledges to end the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Global tech outage eases after widespread disruption. India's Civil Aviation Ministry says airline systems across airports restored to normal operations. Bangladesh clamps nationwide curfew and deploys army as protests over government jobs escalate. Communications disrupted. President Joe Biden vowed to continue his campaign for re-election, even as fellow Democrats in Congress urged him to end his floundering campaign. Biden remained defiant, saying he would resume campaigning soon, referring to a policy ban developed by Trump's conservative allies. Biden said that he will get back on the campaign trail next week to continue exposing the threat of Trump's Project 2025 agenda. So far, 34 of the total 264 Democrats in both the houses of the U.S. Congress have openly called for Biden to end his campaign following a disastrous June debate against Trump that raised questions about Biden's ability to carry out his duties for another 4 years. Biden is recovering from COVID at his Delaware home. An increased security detail, road closures and tighter checks are measures taken by the U.S. Secret Service for former President Donald Trump's upcoming Saturday rally. Donald Trump is set to make his first public campaign appearance, which will be held at Grand Rapids Van Andel Arena, almost 1 week after an attempt on the former president's life during a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. The Grand Rapids Police Chief, Eric Windstorm, has said that local police are working closely with our federal partners for Saturday's campaign event. U.S. Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump said that he had a very good call with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Friday and pledged to end the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Trump has pledged to end the conflict before taking office in January if he wins the November 5th election. Trump has said that he will bring peace to the world as the president. Zelensky also reported his conversation with Trump and expressed gratitude for U.S. military assistance. He also congratulated Trump on securing the presidential nomination and agreed to arrange a meeting in person. Zelensky rejects any negotiations with Russia on ending the conflict as long as Russian troops remain in Ukraine. A global tech outage that caused widespread disruption in services from airlines to healthcare, shipping to finance has now been eased. Millions of people worldwide were affected by widespread Microsoft software outage on Friday. It impacted IT network of multiple businesses, banking services and international airlines worldwide. After the outage was resolved, companies were dealing with backlog of delayed and cancelled flights and medical appointments, missed orders and other issues that could take days to resolve. Businesses also face questions about how to avoid future blackouts triggered by technology meant to safeguard their systems. In the United States, things are slowly coming back online after Friday's global tech glitch grounded flights, crippled hospital systems and disrupted emergency services like 9/11. The company at the center of this meltdown, CrowdStrike, says it is working closely with impacted customers and partners to ensure all systems are restored. DD India's Tony Waterman has more from outside CrowdStrike's global headquarters in Austin, Texas.
CrowdStrike was started by ex-McAfee execs over a decade ago and has been based here in Austin since 2021, currently in this nondescript building right here behind me. The company is really known for its modern endpoint security products like Falcon, the one that caused this global disruption. Unlike traditional antivirus software, CrowdStrike's products continuously monitor laptops, desktops, smartphones, so suspicious activity can be detected in real time and immediately eliminated, if not prevented altogether. And as you'd imagine, this type of cybersecurity has become hugely popular as more people work remotely and cyber criminals become more sophisticated. But as we have seen, there are vulnerabilities. For this continuous scanning to work, the software needs access to the inner workings of all of the operating systems, and that means even a small bug like the one released during CrowdStrike's recent update can have cascading and far-reaching impacts. This has been compounded by CrowdStrike's consumer base. It has tens of thousands of clients around the globe, including nearly 300 Fortune 500 companies like Google, Amazon, and Intel. Now, the company's CEO, George Kurtz, has apologized for the chaos, saying on social media that the company understands the gravity of the situation, and he made it clear that this is not the result of a security breach. Now, besides software, CrowdStrike is also known for its investigations into major cyber attacks, including the 2014 hacking of Sony Pictures and Russia's hacking of Democratic National Committee computers during the 2016 election. Tony Waterman, Austin, Texas.
Australia warned of malicious websites on Saturday. Australia's Cyber Intelligence Agency said that malicious websites and unofficial code were being released online, claiming to aid recovery from the outage. On its website, the agency said its cybersecurity center strongly encourages all consumers to source their technical information and updates from official CrowdStrike sources only. Earlier on Friday, the Australian Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, said that there had been no impact to critical infrastructure, government services or emergency phone systems due to the outage. A day after Microsoft outage severely impacted flight operations across India, the Minister of Civil Aviation on Saturday said that the issue has been resolved. According to an official statement, the airline system across airports resumed by dawn. Furthermore, the passengers are no longer facing any issues. Flight schedules are being adhered to as usual. The outage had impacted various sectors, causing significant delays and inconvenience to passengers. Also, several airlines had to resort to manual check-in and boarding processes at the airport. All right, let's turn focus to other news now. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has condemned UN top court's advisory opinion on Israeli settlements in the occupied West Bank. Netanyahu said that the territories are part of the Jewish people's historic homeland. He added that no false decision in The Hague will distort this historical truth, just as the legality of Israeli settlement and all the territories of our homeland cannot be contested. The International Court of Justice on Friday said that Israel's occupation in the West Bank and East Jerusalem violated international law and has called on Israel to leave the territories. However, the UN top court says that an advisory opinion is not legally binding but carries moral authority and can shape international law. DD India's Mitch McCann reports from New York.
In its opinion, the International Court of Justice said the Israeli settlements in the West Bank and East Jerusalem and the regime associated with them have been established and are being maintained in violation of international law. Critically, it added that Israel is under an obligation to provide full reparation for the damage caused by its internationally wrongful acts to all natural or legal persons concerned. It is the first time the court has laid out its position on an issue that has been the source of vigorous debate and multiple resolutions in the halls of the United Nations for decades. The court's determination stems from a request from the United Nations General Assembly in 2022, which asked the ICJ to rule on the legal consequences of Israel's settlements. More than 50 nations addressed hearings at the Peace Palace at The Hague in February, where countries mostly sided with Palestinian representatives, except for Israel's traditional allies, like the United States and the United Kingdom. Israel's Prime Minister responded to the ICJ ruling, Benjamin Netanyahu saying the Jewish people are not occupiers of their own land, and that no false decision at The Hague can distort the historical truth, just as the legality of Israeli settlements in all the territories of our homeland cannot be contested. The court's advisory is not legally binding but is likely to carry significant political weight among the international community. Mitch McCann in New York reporting for DD India.
An Iranian-made drone sent by Yemen's Houthi rebels struck Tel Aviv, leaving one person dead and at least 10 injured. The Israeli army released a footage showing a drone flying over Tel Aviv's shores and then a blast in the coastal city. The aerial strike rumbled through the center of the city, causing shrapnels to rain down and spreading shards of glass over a large radius. The White House condemned the attack by calling it reckless. In the latest updates on Israel-Hamas conflict, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that a long-sought ceasefire between Israel and Hamas was within sight, adding negotiators were driving towards the goal line.
We have an agreement to the framework the President put out by both Israel and Hamas. The question now is finishing the negotiation of some critical details. They signed on to the framework,
right,
and that's what's so important. But there remain some issues that need to be resolved, that need to be negotiated. We're in the midst of doing exactly that.
The U.S. has called for immediate release of reporter Evan Gershkovich. U.S. President Joe Biden said that journalism is not a crime and the United States is working hard for his release. The president's remarks came after the Wall Street Journal reporter was found guilty of espionage and sentenced to 16 years in a maximum security penal colony in Russia. Gershkovich, a 32-year-old American who said the allegations against him were false, went on trial last month in the city of Yekaterinburg. He was the first U.S. journalist arrested on spying charges in Russia since the Cold War. Also, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that any effort to bring any American home is going to be part of the process of back-and-forth discussion, potentially of negotiation.
And of course, when it comes to Evan, when it comes to Paul Whelan in Russia, other Americans, we're working it quite literally every day, looking to see what we can do to get them home. We've had a rather extraordinary track record over the last 3.5 years of doing just that, bringing some 30 Americans home from different places around the world where they were being unjustly detained. All I can tell you is this, we're working it. We're working it as we speak, and we're not going to stop until we get Evan home, we get Paul Whelan home, until we get others home.
World leaders condemned the wrongful conviction and sentence of Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich by a Russian court. Leaders including British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, Britain's Foreign Secretary David Lammy, and European Parliament President Roberta Metsola and others took to social media to demand the immediate release of the US reporter. In the latest update on Russia-Ukraine conflict, Russia said that its forces had taken control of 2 additional Ukrainian settlements on Friday. A Russian missile hit Ukraine's southern city of Mykolaiv. The city mayor, Alexander Sienkiewicz, said 3 people were killed, including a child, and several others were injured in the attack. The windows of the buildings in the area were also blown out in the attack. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian side said that the military exerted all efforts to prevent Russian advances. Kenyan President William Ruto has named a new cabinet. The Kenyan president last week sacked members of his cabinet in what was a response to grievances of young protesters. From Kampala in Uganda, DD India's Leon Senyange reports on this.
President Ruto announced the first batch of 11 appointments to form his new cabinet. According to President Ruto, the new cabinet was nominated following extensive consultations. There were 6 reappointments, though, with the Interior, Defense and Environment ministers returning to the cabinet. President Ruto's decision to back from the proposed tax hikes of $2.7 billion was prompted by youth-led rallies who demanded reforms in government. A Kenyan court this week suspended a move by the Kenyan police to ban protests in the capital, Nairobi. The protests that started in June have seen more than 50 people lose their lives. Leon Senyange reporting from Kampala, Uganda for DD India.
And now we take a look at other stories making it to the headlines from across the world. U.S. airline company Boeing projects 3% hike in global airplane deliveries by the strength of passenger demand. Boeing's updated forecast anticipates a significant increase in demand for both single-aisle and wide-body aircraft as airlines around the world expand and modernize their fleet to accommodate a rising number of air travelers. Turkey is all set to send Navy support to Somali waters following a bilateral agreement allowing Ankara to send an exploration vessel off the coast of Somalia to prospect for oil and gas. President Tayyip Erdogan submitted a motion to the Turkish parliament seeking authorization for the deployment of Turkish military to Somalia, including the country's territorial waters. Bulgaria and neighbouring countries have been battling wildfires for days now, with extreme temperatures linked to the heat wave and dryness as aggravating circumstances. Firefighters across Bulgaria, Greece, Turkey and other nearby nations have been working tirelessly to contain the blazes. Health risks are also mounting as the thick smoke from the fires has led to air pollution. You're watching DD India Live. We're heading for a short break. But after the break, India and Bhutan review cooperation in diverse areas of development partnership during Foreign Secretary's visit. The Indian Coast Guard launches a firefighting operation after a major fire erupted aboard a cargo container ship off the southwest coast of Goa. And members of the refugee Olympic team made their way to the Olympic Village in Paris.
What are the strategic implications of China's slowdown? Why is China not able to reverse its slowdown? And what will this do to China's behavior in the world?
The Chinese will continue to look at India as an obstacle. So we have to understand that that is going to continue. But it's not as if the Chinese hold all the cards. We can also decide for ourselves by our own actions how we can make the most of it. If China is under pressure from the Americans and the Europeans, how can we take advantage of it?
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India Live. In the United Kingdom, the new parliament has been praised for being the most diverse in history. Record numbers of MPs are from ethnic minorities and almost 40% are females. As John Beaver reports, this hasn't happened by accident and is the result of years-long push for parliament to better reflect the makeup of the United Kingdom. Take a look.
I was elected to Parliament to represent my constituents.
The diversity of the new Parliament was clear to see as new MPs were sworn in. A wide variety of religious texts had to be provided, including the Gita, for members to swear their oaths, and a record number chose a non-religious affirmation instead. When Diane Abbott was first elected, she was just one of 4 MPs from an ethnically diverse background. There are now 90. She's also currently the longest-serving female MP.
When I was a new member in 1987, there were only 40 female members of Parliament. Today we have 264. And some of us are glad that we have lived to see this.
Diversity experts agree and say it's not just a concerted effort by political parties to choose more diverse candidates for Parliament.
It shows, I think, a positive, broader story in British society, in education, in professional life, that especially the British-born children of Commonwealth migrants from India and other countries have done really well in education, really well in professional life, and are expecting, in a way that their parents and grandparents wouldn't, to have an opportunity to go into Parliament, to go into politics and to go into other spheres of life.
The impact a diverse Parliament will have on the laws that are passed isn't yet known and isn't easy to predict. Political experts point out that previous governments have had prominent ministers from immigrant backgrounds who have been vehemently anti-immigration.
Although happy with the progress that's been made, many campaigners say they want greater diversity until the makeup of Parliament accurately reflects the people it represents. In London, John Beaver reporting for DD India.
The charred remains of a double-decker bus burnt during riots in northern English city of Leeds have been removed by authorities. West Yorkshire Police says officers made arrests and will continue to look for those caught on CCTV who perpetrated the disorder. DD India's Stuart Smith reports from London.
Assistant Chief Constable Pat Twiggs said the force will also use social media footage to try to identify anyone involved in the riots and that further arrests will be made over the next few days. The Prime Minister has urged people to stop speculating on what caused the riots. The police say they were attacked on Thursday while supporting the local council's children's social care team, who were dealing with a child protection matter. The police say more disorder then followed, with vehicles overturned and street furniture set on fire. The boss of Leeds Council said the intervention by the children's social care team was probably misinterpreted, which sparked the riots. The police have been criticised for retreating during the disorder under what the Assistant Chief Constable described as a barrage of missiles and bricks, leaving residents without protection while those involved continued to stoke fires. The police say officers retreated in order to try to defuse the situation and later returned with firefighters to put out the remaining street fires. Stuart Smith in London, reporting for DD India.
The United States has announced its support for the Philippines in its efforts to resupply a ship stationed on an atoll in the South China Sea. Now, this comes amid ongoing tensions and territorial disputes in the region, particularly with China, which also claims sovereignty over the area. House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan says U.S. would prefer that the Philippines conduct the resupplies of the small crew on the warship Sierra Madre to reinforce maritime claims in the South China Sea contested by China.
We have tried to consult very closely with the Philippines because these are decisions they should lead on. How to most effectively reprovision this ship so that the sailors on board have the food and water and other provisions they need to continue to fulfill their mission. And we will do what is necessary with the Philippines to see to it that that happens.
Bangladesh government imposed curfew across the country and deployed the army after further rioting in the capital Dhaka. The clashes between student protesters and police have led to several deaths, while hundreds were injured in Dhaka and other parts of the country. A suspension on internet and text message services has remained in place since Thursday, cutting off Bangladesh from the world as police cracked down on protests that have continued despite a ban on public gatherings. The nationwide unrest initially broke out over student anger against new quotas for government jobs, including 30% of the families of those who fought for independence from Pakistan. Meanwhile, the Border Security Force has intensified security checks at the Indian immigration checkpost in West Bengal's Jalpaiguri. These measures aim to ensure safety and maintain order amid the unrest. India's Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri and his Bhutanese counterpart Om Pema Chodron co-chaired the third India-Bhutan development cooperation talks of the 13th five-year plan on Saturday. They reviewed implementation, modalities and also cooperation in diverse areas of development partnership under the 13th five-year plan period. The two sides expressed satisfaction at large number of India-Bhutan development projects implemented under the 12th five-year plan in sectors including connectivity, infrastructure, cultural heritage, health, education, agriculture, sports, skilling and digital economy. The two foreign secretaries also virtually inaugurated 19 schools in Bhutan, which were constructed during the 12th fifth year period. India's Minister for Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal interacted with the Indian diaspora in San Diego on Sunday. The minister addressed the gathering via a meeting on Zoom. He spoke on the ever-growing India-US relationship and also answered various questions as well.
The growing complementarities between the two countries will ensure that we will continue to have excellent relations between the US and India. We have reached a situation where we recognize huge synergies and opportunities between the US and India.
The Indian Coast Guard launched a firefighting operation off the southwest coast of Goa after a major fire erupted aboard a cargo container ship. According to an official statement, fire broke out on the container cargo merchant vessel, which is reportedly carrying international maritime dangerous goods, cargo and explosives. Upon receiving information about the incident, the Indian Coast Guard immediately deployed an ICG ship towards the distressed vessel with maximum speed, officials said in the statement. Let's take a look at other stories making it to the headlines from India now. The Delhi courts, in fact, have got into the era of artificial intelligence with their first pilot hybrid court equipped with a speech-to-text facility. Now, Acting Chief Justice of Delhi High Court, Justice Manmohan, inaugurated the first AI-equipped pilot hybrid courtroom and also launched a digital court app. Ahead of the holy month of Sawan, Kamadiyas on Saturday began the Kamad Yatra from Uttarakhand's Haridwar and Uttar Pradesh's Muzaffarnagar on foot to seek the blessings of Lord Shiva. At the same time, in view of the Kamad Yatra, the administration has also made tight arrangements for the security of the Kamadiyas. Members of the refugee Olympic team made their way to the Olympic Village, where they will be housed alongside the rest of the Paris 2024 athletes. Now, this year's refugee Olympic team is made up of 37 athletes, in fact, who currently live in 12 different countries, and they will be competing in 12 different sports. The refugee team in Paris is the largest ever, and this will be the third consecutive Olympic Games to field the team. Managed by Olympic Refugee Foundation, the refugee team allows elite athletes who would not otherwise have the chance to participate on the world's biggest sporting stage. All right, that's it in this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app, and you can scan these QR codes on your screens. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.